Brussels sprouts and cauliflower, onion, fennel and cucumber, plum, pear and papaya, aubergine and saya, lime, lentils and quinoa, oatmeal bread and oatmeal flour, watercress and okra, tofu and sweet pepper.
Hello everyone, and you might wonder, who is this fella? Well, this is Thomas Davis, or GeoVisit, which is a YouTuber that made himself famous for his attempts of crossing Wales and later Norway and Scotland in as straight line as possible. Watching his attempt of crossing Norway, I have my fair share of criticism. 1. Why isn't he wearing sunglasses this close to the polar circle while in the middle of a lake? Why the heck would you try to walk across a peat bog? And trying to tempt a bear with food,
you hear it?
Is awful.
I'm getting some beef jerky out, because if it's a bear, I want to be able to tempt it.
I also like to note that most Norwegians wouldn't care for people walking across the gardens. But the last thing he kind of realized on his last attempt of crossing Wales in a completely straight line.
If she's gone to look for me and something's happened, I will never, ever, ever, ever forgive myself. Why the fuck don't we have a satellite phone?
And watching through his videos where I see him crossing lakes, creeks, and also marshland, I was thinking to myself, wouldn't it be easier to make a straight line if you walk it in the winter? But I'm getting ahead of myself. I am a 29-year-old vegan activist, a YouTuber, and an outdoors enthusiast. Because of hypermobility, I just kept walking bare feet for the last 10 years. I've struggled with iron deficiency and even lumbagos in very young age. Although no longer fit for basketball, active climbing and parkour anymore, walking or bicycling great distance is something that I still manage to do. And although very strong migraines might occur from me pushing myself, I cannot let those health issues stand in my way for achieving things. So after bicycling great distances, walking on Norway's highest mountain peak without shoes on, there's a lot of things that I can do. And the idea of walking a great distance in a straight line is something that I've actually thought about before I saw GeoVisit, but not exactly a country. Well, I thought maybe I should use the winter when everything is overfrozen to just try to beat the score that GeoVisit made when he crossed Norway. In the winter, lakes, creeks and marshes are flat and you can just walk across them. So I bought myself a GPS system, got some snowshoes, learned how to use Basecamp, and I found myself some training routes in the Gjøvik municipality because the mountainous terrain resembled the Nordland county a little bit greater. We have this trip that I took, where I have a very nice little valley run here that was really steep. And although not the best conditions, I managed to do quite well. And not deviating further than 10 meters. This second attempt of doing a straight line didn't go as well, that was only due to signal issues, but it also went quite well nevertheless. Furthest deviation was 14 meters, but only because the line appeared to be further down than it actually was. So although these two missions were sort of successful, they weren't of the best conditions. That taught me that I needed to contact somebody locally to tell me how the conditions were, so that I don't go up to Rana municipality with very bad conditions. Initially, I wanted to take the same route as GeoVisit. Like, it's doable, it's already been done, but it had a little bit of an issue that I didn't see at the beginning. The dam. For some time, I had some contact with this fella called Christian from the Polar Circle Hiking Association. He told me of one issue that I didn't even think about. The water is tempered around the dam, which means that the ice might be a little unsafe, and there are 3 possible options. It can be some unsafe ice, which you might actually fall through. If you're really unlucky, there's no ice to walk on at all. And on some rare occasions in reservoirs, when they let out enough water, you basically are left with 2 layers of ice that makes you fall through and then trapped inside of an ice cave, or even worse, fall into an ice cave full of water And that's scary. So I drew another line that went from the Swedish border, which meant that I had to cross another mountain, but the lakes wouldn't be an issue. And it's also a lot safer. And the best thing about it all is that there are less steep gradients on that line. So after training on walking in a straight line on the frozen Mjøsa Lake all winter, I felt ready. I was just waiting for a clear sign. And then the Red Cross gave me a message that sounded like, "Get your ass up there as fast as possible before the ice melts." Then we just started packing our stuff. I made sure to get some lithium batteries for my GPS system due to the cold. As for the GoPro, I also got a lot of more batteries, more SD cards, and yes, I rented a satellite phone. Then it was to get all the stuff into the car, and then we were off. While Bror and I saw the stunning landscape across Mjøsa Lake and also Lillehammer, Oda Johan just decided to fall asleep right away. It was a long way to go. First we had to cross through the beautiful Gudbrandsdalen valleys and then the stunning Dovre Mountains. It got dark before we reached Trondheim even. Hey, we even had to go through hell to get there. But we reached northern Norway in the end. And Bror drove like a champion throughout the night. In total he drove for 13 hours non-stop. When we got there, the sun was already on the rise. Then we got to the hotel and opted for some really good sleep. And when I woke up, I decided to check the weather forecast for the coming day when I was actually going to walk, and it wasn't what I hoped. Avalanche danger on high alert. It also seemed possible that there were going to be a blizzard. Well, avalanche danger isn't necessarily the end of the world. If there is only a chance of like a half a meter of falling snow, then that's not necessarily going to kill you. So we decided to go up there and check how it really looked before we decided on whatever we were going to do. But hold on, there's some vital information before I show you whatever we found up there. So one thing is that although I had some good communication with the hiking association up there, they stopped replying after some time and I don't know what that is about. However, it's not their job to help me with this. However, I cannot say the same thing for the Red Cross, and it took them an awful long time to get in contact with me first, and they just didn't reply after that. And I've told them that I was going up when I was going, and they didn't reply back to me ever. I gave them vital information that when I'm supposed to go, just call me this number if I'm lost. Any of that. You could keep that in mind. And it's also important to show you what our plan was. The plan was to put me off at the Swedish border, and then they keep up this track that goes off the main road. They were supposed to wait at this blue cross till I got close, so that Oda Johanne could walk over the lake, pick up my backpack and go back into the car, and Bror would drive over to the Red Cross, where I was supposed to sleep over in the car at night. But first we needed to drive over to the Storakersvatn reservoir to see how it looked like on the other side of the Runnafjellet mountain, to see how the avalanche danger looked like. And then the biggest obstacle of the entire trip surfaced. So you see this sign? It's basically where we have to go for our night sleep in this turn, and there is no road to take. We can't drive there, and in this condition there's absolutely no way that I will be able to walk this in one day. So when I tried to get help from people here near, from the it was the Tourist Association or something like that, and the Red Cross, they so gave me the wrong information. This is so unforgivable, and we came all this way and they didn't mention. I told both of them what my plan was, and the snow is just too deep. Now this was supposed to be my start point, so unforgiving. The plan was to walk over that mountain over there and then over to the famous Storakersvatnet reservoir. Is it possible to walk on here? Yeah, it is, but without a chance of taking a night's rest in a car over there. There is no way. Look how deep this is. This is very much doable, but I can't do it in one day. So that is a huge, huge shame. At least something fancy there is to see, and that is this shop that is a bus. Look at this. Fancy schmancy. Yep, and vegan cheese doodles. Well, one of the coolest ideas for a shop that I've ever seen, ever. It kind of eased the pain a little for having to brake, but the day after, when I looked at the weather forecast for Sunday or day 2 for the walk, it was also a horrible snowy weather then as well. And it truly became like a blizzard even in Mo I Rana. It's just, there was absolutely no way for me to do that trip safely. So we decided to just pack up and leave, cancel the entire project for now. Yep, this is here where Tommy Boy stood victorious on the edge of this beach. It's sad, because I stand here as a complete failure. So this is where it all could have ended. But I failed. One of the rules in the Norwegian mountain code is that there's no shame in turning around, which I did, which both me and everybody that I told felt was the best idea. But a question that I have, do you as a viewer feel the same? Do you think that this video will get as much views as someone else who actually made it? Or at least attempted to physically walk it despite the dangers? And that is something to think about. Is a YouTuber's health and safety more important than the entertainment they can produce? Anyways, is this the end? Well, it depends. I got basically 3 choices now. One is to just not try again ever. That is one thing that I can do. But number 2 is the only way that I'm going back there is if I get some local help. And that must be someone with a car, someone who can drive a snowmobile, someone who can go up to these certain mountaintops along the line where there is an avalanche danger with some dynamite or whatever, and activate them. And that someone needs to get in touch with someone owning any of these remote cabins to lend me a key or something. If that is doable, then I will go up again, but if the summer comes, then that's not even going to be an option. But there is a third option that I have, and that is a different place in Norway, in Kåfjord and Troms, where I actually think there is possible to find a line that is doable. I'm just tweaking at the moment, see if that is possible. And also if somebody up there are willing to help me with that, that is also an option. However, I'm just in my mind right now because it just hurts so much to fail in such a mission. But it seems as if the pandemic is in the end of the stages of this cycle, so the world might open again. And is this the last time I will attempt doing something like this? No, I don't think so. There are some other countries I also want to try to cross in a straight line, so that is also an option. But for the crossing of Norway, I made an honest attempt and I failed. But at least I've tried.